It's the Slam Dunk.
What the hell did we just do? There are rorts, then there are rip-offs, and then there's 416 grand of taxpayers' money handed to Adrian Orr just to keep his mouth shut after quitting early as the governor of the Reserve Bank. Let's call it what it is. It's hush money, and you paid for it. Don't give me spin about restraint of trade. Don't give me weasel words like contractual obligation. That's horse manure. This was a golden gag. A publicly funded payout to stop a disgruntled, high-profile insider from speaking freely after a bitter falling out with his bosses, including the government. It's shameful and it stinks. And every single person involved, from the Reserve Bank board to the beehive, should hang their heads in disgrace and shame. All we've had is misleading statements and lies. And we're told to look over there or look the other way. No, it's time for honesty. We have faced the worst recession in our history because of this man and this bank, and the struggle for many is real. And this is a kick in the face to learn that this guy was rewarded for his poor performance and tantrums and leaving early. He drove us into this deep recession and we paid him extra $500,000 as a bonus. It would take 8 years on the minimum wage to earn what he was paid to leave. It's taxpayers' money, your money, our money. And I, for one, don't want it being used to fill the pockets of someone who stumbled around in the job and made things worse than they had to be. Adrian Orr walked out in March, 2 years before the end of his term. Why? Because he couldn't get the bloated budget that he wanted. Because the board pushed back on his attempt to build his own empire. And because, by all reports, he lost the room. He shouted at other executives. Did he shout at the minister? We do know he lost the plot. Then, to make sure he didn't go out swinging, they stuffed $416,120 in his pocket and told him to zip it for 6 months, which he's done. That's not restraint of trade. That's a taxpayer-funded muzzle. Imagine if you left your job early after clashing with your employer and they paid you an extra $400,000 just to shut up, keep your mouth shut. You'd be laughing all the way to the bank, the same bank that you used to run. Let's be clear. This wasn't their money. It was ours, yours, mine, ours. The Reserve Bank board signed this off in secret, no public consultation. No ministerial oversight, apparently. No honesty. Just a quiet, tidy payout. And I hope that no one would notice. We all notice. It all comes to the top in the end. The public wasn't told until months later. And only because journalists went digging. Finance Minister Nicola Willis says she didn't know the full details until well after the fact. Well, if that's true, then she's asleep at the wheel. Or she knew and she kept quiet. She's the minister with oversight of the Reserve Bank. She must have known. She should have known. Or was she asleep, or did she also sit on the secret? If she didn't know, then she should sack the entire Reserve Bank board right now. I mean, she should know. If she did know, she was complicit in it all then, wasn't she? Either way, it's not good enough. We are in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Inflation smashed us. Working families are struggling. Mortgage rates have crushed households. And Adrian Orr's Reserve Bank helped cause the pain by being late to rate hikes and then going nuclear. And now we're paying him $500,000 to keep quiet. No way. Where's the accountability? Where's the transparency? And where's the honesty? Let's not kid ourselves. This payout wasn't about protecting Reserve Bank policy. It wasn't about defending secrets. It was about avoiding embarrassment. It always is. Or clearly had dirt. Maybe on the board. Maybe on Treasury. Maybe on government. Maybe on the ministers. Maybe on all of them. I'm sure it was on all of them. This is a system paying off one of its own to stop him torching the place on the way out. That's what it is. It's fundamentally corrupt in that sense. Because what's the cost of silence? In this case, the cost of silence, I'll tell you what it is. It's $416,000. And the real kicker, we still don't know what we weren't allowed to hear. Let me say this as bluntly as I can. New Zealand is not a fiefdom for bureaucrats and governors to walk away with hush money and golden parachutes and handshakes. This is a small country. Every dollar matters. Every act of public trust matters. And right now, the people running our central institutions are burning that trust to the ground, especially at the Reserve Bank. If this happened in the private sector, there'd be lawsuits. If it happened in politics, there'd be resignations. So where are they now? Why hasn't the Reserve Bank board been hauled before a select committee for some honesty? Why hasn't the finance minister demanded the money back? Why hasn't the Auditor General stepped in? You don't get paid to quit and hide. Adrian Orr failed in his second term. He let inflation run hot, ballooned the bank's headcount, and turned the country's top bank into a PR machine. He didn't get his way, so he quit. He threw his toys. Then they paid him more than the average New Zealander will earn in a decade to stay silent. It's cowardly and crooked. And it's completely indefensible. We need an inquiry. We need transparency. We need this money paid back now. Because in a country where people are choosing between heating and eating, $416,000 to gag a public servant is an insult to every taxpayer in New Zealand. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough of being insulted. I'm over it.
Editor-in-Chief with Dunc and Garner.